Hi, today we're going to talk about the advantages of lifelong learning. You know, we have found in healthcare that there are a lot of things that can be avoided with dementia and other things if you keep on going and learning new things. So I have some very educated people here today to talk to us about some of that. They've taught some classes, they've taken a lot of classes, and they've kept education as a primary focus in their life. So I'd like to introduce you to them, but I'm going to let them tell you themselves who they are and what they've accomplished. Peter, we're going to start with you.
Thank you very much. A pleasure to be here. My name is Peter Nutini, and I am, I think, without a doubt, a lifelong student. I have a bachelor's degree from Marquette University and a master's degree in philosophy from DePaul University. I have a master's degree in management from the Kellogg School at Northwestern. I taught classes in construction management at Triton College. And currently, I attend classes at Elmhurst College in music, art, literature, philosophy. It's my idea of a good time.
And you play music, too.
I do indeed,
Someday
yes.
we're going to have you bring an instrument.
Right. Yes.
Okay, Dr. Prato.
Maria Prato, and I have always enjoyed learning new things. And as far as my training for what I did lifelong, I have a bachelor's, a master's, and a PhD, Loyola University. And I encourage lifelong learning as well as I participate in lifelong learning. It keeps me involved in what's technologically advanced, and it keeps me being able to have communication with others regarding the newest and the latest. So it's invaluable.
A lot of times it keeps you involved with younger people, too.
It's true, because if you don't speak their language, you don't really speak.
Yes.
And Dr. Tony Koufos?
Basically, my background in most hobby became a avocation, and a vocation is natural health, being a naturopathic doctor, and probably being involved in it since I was 6 years old, so my interest was there from very early. But I've had other hobbies along the way and done real estate for many years and rehabbed homes and was involved with that for 20 years. But always kept my fingers into the natural health because that's where my interest really was. And of course I was in hobby with automobiles and raced sports cars for 25 years. And all the camaraderie and things that you learn that you have with that type of mentality and thinking and engineering type, computer type minds that I have no formal training in it, but I sure learned a lot just by being around them.
Well, you went back to school later in life, too, to
Yes.
get your doctorate in naturopathic medicine.
Yes. And in that, then I specialized in certain areas that most naturopaths don't specialize in, and that's in reflexology and iridology, which I thought was just so interesting because we can learn so much about what's going on in the body without invading it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a study of passion.
Well, you know, Peter, I don't think of people going to college for construction management. That's kind of a unique thing I never saw listed anywhere.
Yes, well, Triton College does have a construction technology department. There's a number of universities around the country that have advanced degrees in construction. So it's a field in itself that, like other fields, becomes a profession. And
does that involve computers and things too, or is that actually the building of it, or what?
Well, yes, computers today are a key part of virtually everything we do, and in construction, project management, is done largely with the aid of a computer. I grew up as in the construction business, and my dad taught me pencil drafting. I was a pencil drafter, among other things, for a number of years. And then AutoCAD came along, which is a computer program to create drawings that are used in the construction and many other things as well.
3D or something?
3D is part of it. I was happy to settle with 2D for myself. It worked fine for what I do. But indeed, as we know, there are so many things we need to continue to learn to stay current in whatever field we happen to be working in.
Right.
Right?
Well, I had never heard about CAD, what do they call it, CAD something, whatever you're calling it, but they say for patents and that you have to use these CAD forms now on a computer.
No question about that. Today, and of course I know best the construction field where I worked for so many years, but it's all done by computer today, so to speak. You create your drawings, you submit your drawings, you review your drawings, all done basically off a
Did you
computer
find it
screen.
hard to transition to that? When I first bought a computer for my business way back in the 80s, I think, you had to learn a language. And I
Right.
think it told me I was stupid or something. And so I gave it away. It was thousands of dollars worth, and I gave it away. And it was years before I would get back on one. Now I don't know what I'd do without it. But did you find it difficult to transition?
Well, the original computers on the personal level were very complicated. I had a
Right.
friend who got a complete set like you did, and he kept it in a closet. The original AutoCAD programs were very complicated. I didn't even attempt to learn it, but
Can you tell us what that means? AutoCAD?
AutoCAD is computer-aided drafting is what the CAD is. AutoCAD is the trade name for the most common software program out there.
I see.
And when I knew I had to learn it to stay current in my field, I chose to take a 5-day immersion type course through a program that AutoCAD had created for people like myself, and once you get a taste of it, you don't want to go back because it's the benefits far outweigh that learning curve that.
Well, I
you have
know a
to go
lot of
through.
people like myself were afraid to get back on computers. I've done it now for quite a few years, but now I have no idea how someone doesn't use a computer, because you'd be missing out on a lot in life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What about you now? You were teaching when all of this came
Right,
into...
yeah. I did my master's thesis on a dot matrix. And to think, that how we've advanced in computers in just a short amount of time, if you think of it, in terms of generations, in just a few decades.
Well, even just fax machines.
Exactly.
You used to be able to tell somebody you threw something in the mail.
Right.
And then, then they say, just fax it to me.
Right.
Or just,
Right,
now
exactly.
email it
Now
to
it's
me.
email.
If you don't have it,
Scan
you're in
it,
serious trouble. Yeah.
Scan it, email it, you have it in minutes, you attach it to an email, you have an attachment that explains everything. It's just mind-boggling. And it's hard to explain to old-timers, who don't want to have anything to do with computers. But, I think, and there's a community organization in Hinsdale that at their community house, they train the seniors. Some of the trainers are in their 90s. And they train seniors. They've had a very good employment, pilots and engineers and and they, patiently and calmly do a step-by-step program with seniors in their 80s and 70s, and they're getting it,
The
which is
libraries do that,
great.
too.
Yes, but it's so much nicer if you have someone in your peer age teaching it to you.
Well, like a woman said that she wanted to become a doctor or something, and she was older. And they said, she said, but that'll take me 7 years, and then I'll be whatever age I'm going to be. They said, well, in 7 years, what age will you be if you don't become a doctor?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. But, with kids now, God, they can outdo us all with these
Right.
computers. But when you first put them in, when you were principal of a
Yes, yes.
school, were they anxious to do it or not?
We had a computer, we were the first in the city of Chicago to have a computer lab. Ford donated a computer lab to us. They were one of our community partners. We were so blessed, and the kids pick up like little magnets. And they were competing with some high schoolers who didn't have computer backgrounds. And that's a great satisfaction, because they knew they were doing something that was on the cutting edge. And when you know you're on the cutting edge, it gives you enthusiasm, you know. And then we did some competition, you know, as far as, you know, what the ability levels of the kids were on a citywide scale. We were very happy with the progress.
What do you think of what they're doing now? All of you can answer to this now. They say they're not going to teach kids cursive writing. First of all, I don't think they teach them math anymore, because if you go to the store and you want to buy a $10 item and it has 90% off, they tell you it's $5 or something. You know, they really cannot. And I mean, I've had that happen. I cannot tell you how many times. They cannot add or subtract in their heads.
Right.
If they don't have a calculator or a computer, they have no idea.
Yeah. But let's go back to the handwriting, for example. Most of our historical documents are handwritten. And how is that going to carry on through generations if we lose that in the school system? I think we're doing a disservice to the children.
What is the point of getting rid of it? Why don't they want to teach it?
Well, unless there's adversarial, you know, discussion, it's going to not be around, because it's a lot easier not to teach it, you know.
Yeah, but how are you going to have a signature
Yeah,
if
what's
you
the-
can't? They're not going to teach cursive writing
What's the
anymore.
alternate? Is
Printing.
it to enter onto a computer screen or
print.
hand printing?
That's what they're
Printing.
doing.
Yeah, I have to confess, when I went to work for my father right out of school and quickly went to the drafting board, we were printing everything. You don't do it any other way when you're creating a drawing of some kind.
Right.
And now that's the only way I can write out anything is by printing,
Is by
because I had
printing.
so many years of doing that every day as to
Do you sign
make
your
a living.
checks?
But I do have a unique signature, like we all do, right? That I'm
There's
quite
no
proud of.
no X, right?
Yeah, no X's, no. But that's about the extent of the
Yes.
actual. That was different, of course, when we were younger, but that's not the case
So if
anymore.
you were to write a letter to somebody now, would you print it? You would print it.
I'd print it.
I do notice when you get some things from men, I do notice a lot of times men do print
Print.
things.
Yeah.
And women normally don't. They
Handwrite
normally
it,
write.
yeah.
They handwrite them.
And if you're not used to writing letters to people as a writer, some people just like to write. So that's one thing. But if it's just things for necessity,
Right.
printing seems to be the way we would do it.
Right, yeah, for sure.
Well, and of course now you're sending almost everything on the computer. I don't even know about mail anymore. I mean, other than bills.
And then they write these words in the computer when they're texting that are short. There aren't
Yes.
even complete
No.
sentences, and I don't even know what some of those
Well, I learned
abbreviations.
shorthand. I learned Greg shorthand when because my father insisted. He said, "I don't care what you're going to become. You need to take typing in shorthand." And he insisted my brothers take typing, which I'm sure they're glad of for computers. But, you know, it's interesting to me because I did take notes in shorthand, even in nursing school. But when it came in most handy, when I was the vice president of a big company and a nurse, and a secretary wrote about me to another secretary, and I picked it up, and she wrote it in shorthand, and I picked it up and read it. And she said, how could a nurse who's the vice president and executive read shorthand? So it helped me in many ways
Yes.
to find out what was going on.
Right, right.
But I notice when I try to do something now, I don't text a lot, but when I do, I notice I'll do a number 4 and a U for
Yes.
you, but you know, I'm not on it all the time like people are. These kids are have no social ability at all anymore because they're constantly, and they're telling everybody else what they're doing. Well, if they were having such a good time, would they be telling everybody else what they were doing? I mean, if you're having a great time, do you want to sit there and do that?
Right. Well, you know, I attend class at Elmhurst College, which is a liberal arts college, small liberal arts college, a very highly regarded school, which teaches in a traditional manner. I honestly don't know to the extent they do online learning at Elmhurst, but certainly I suspect they do some. But the work that I have done there has always been in the traditional classroom format. The extent of the computer would depend on the class itself. Right now going to a special studies in music course, and our Dr. Harbolt is a wonderful educator, makes heavy use of PowerPoint, which is a computer program in itself, but it's not designed to teach any particular computer skill, but only to demonstrate the points he's trying to make. And and it's wonderful as opposed to just a pure lecture format of the.
What are you learning about in that music class?
Well, this particular class is a special studies in music, which he does every fall. It's a criteria for degree seeker, which I am not, and the course is special studies in Italian Renaissance music, and it's absolutely fascinating for someone who loves music, like myself. Right?
And is Italian.
And is Italian.
And is married to an Italian.
And married to an Italian, that's
Because
right.
our dear Sally, the nurse Sally that you see many times co-hosting the program, is actually Peter's wife.
Thank you. Yes, she is.
And she helps us all here.
Yeah.
So what are you taking anything now?
Yes, computer. And we have a gal, Violette, who is very involved in our one of our women's groups. And she, somehow, some way, she always knows the cutting edge information on computers. And, you know, rather than struggling and trying to figure it out, we learn from her, which is, you know, very,
Where'd you
very
last see her?
valuable. I saw her today.
Where is she? Where is she right now?
So I don't know.
Behind the
Wait,
camera?
Behind the camera.
She happened to
Camera
walk
doing
in.
our show, so she
So-
knows that too.
She's amazing, and I didn't expect to even see her today, but she really is amazing. And her background is psychology, and she definitely knows how the brain needs to be stimulated. She says this to us continually. You know, if you don't stimulate your brain, like the proverbial, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it, right? The brain is the same way. You know, if you don't stimulate yourself regarding your muscles, well, even your brain is like that. You have to learn new things. You have to be interesting. You have to be interested. You know, you in order to be in the know and able to communicate with people, you have to stay up on current events and what's new in technology and how can we use our talents in the best way possible in this particular generation. Because or else we become dinosaurs. We're not useful. And I don't want to be that way. I certainly want to be useful in many regards because we all have talents that we can use. We just have to make them marketable so that people know that we can use them in an up-to-date fashion.
Did you know you were going to get a PhD when you started out on this
You know what?
course?
When I finished my master's degree, my mother said to me, what's the next step? And I said, well, I can't. You know, I had 3 little girls, and I received the master's by taking like 1 class every semester because they were little. And I did need that adult interaction in order to stay focused and alive. And I was teaching full time. And I said to my mother, well, I just couldn't do it. PhD is completely different. I have to write a dissertation, blah, blah, blah. She says, what's standing in your way? I said, well, I have to take care of my girls. She said, do you think I can fill in?
Well,
I
that
said,
was
you
very
most
good.
certainly can fill in. That would have been the best alternative. And
Wow.
she says, I'm going to do it.
Well, she wanted you to
She
do
said,
it.
get your PhD. You're going to need it. She said, you're going to have to, you know, compete for the
Did she
positions.
go to higher
available.
education?
My mother was a teacher in Italy.
Yeah.
And and her students, and one of them was Mario Tricocci.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in Italy. And, you know, every time I meet a student of hers, they speak so highly of her. She's well respected. And of course, you know, being my mother, she was a wonderful mother. So I think that,
Well,
you
having
know,
a mother who was a teacher must have helped you out.
yes.
Yes, tremendously.
Yeah. And you know, it was interesting. I came to America not knowing the language, didn't know English. I didn't go to a bilingual program.
You were
But
carried to America. How old,
yeah.
how old were you?
I was 4.5 when I came,
Sure.
and I taught my parents English
How did you learn it?
in kindergarten. The other kids were talking to me, and I figured it out. You know, they must want my pencil, I guess. You know, and so.
But you don't have an accent.
No, because you know what? I came early enough where you know, you don't get an accent. But I noticed that people that come in their teens and later.
Yes.
My mother says, and this is true, she said this all the time, I have no nation, because when she goes to Italy, her sisters say, keep quiet, because if when we barter, they hear the American accent.
No.
And then when she's here, she says, of course I have an Italian accent. She says, I have no country. And I think that's interesting because, you know, it limits you with what you can do then, too. So, but I mean, she's a fine lady. She's overcome all that. You know, you
Not
have
a
to.
problem.
Yeah, not
Have
a
you
problem.
taken other languages, Peter? Have you?
Well, my mother was a German war refugee, so German was a language we learned when we were children, and then I stayed with it, I think, as a natural attraction toward it through school. And my interest in German, it carries through in my interest in music because so much of the music that we listen to and love today has a German origin to it.
And the classics.
And the classics, right. So it was a natural link there, yeah.
Now, somebody once told me that once you get through certain degrees, like to get onto your PhD, you've learned a system that will help you to learn easier than anybody
Yes.
ever did. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah? Probably true of a master's,
Yes.
Well, we set up systems for ourselves throughout the course of our life
Yes.
to deal with our day-to-day affairs.
Exactly.
And clearly one of them is the learning experience. What works for, everyone has their own way of doing it, but again, I find that a formal a lifelong learning program works best for me. I'm not the most disciplined person on the planet, so I can't expect a great success for myself just trying to learn over the internet, for example. Although I certainly understand it, respect it, and you know, it's amazing what you can learn on YouTube, for example. If you want to learn to play Billy in the Lowground on your guitar, you can go to the YouTube and find out, follow along very quickly. But I think if you're going to get deeper into subject matter, then the benefit of working in a more formal program, most of the universities and colleges in our area offer programs for adult learners, senior learners in particular, at very reasonable cost. And I'll just again mention Elmhurst College, where I attend. They make it very easy and very affordable for anyone in their senior years to do classwork. And in preparing for tonight, I learned about my own Northwestern University has a wonderful program. They're one of the several universities around the country that participate in what's called the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, which is a series of study groups that meet several times a week throughout the course of the school year. I haven't attended those yet, but I'm looking forward to doing so now that I'm aware of them. So these are opportunities that are out there for all of us to take advantage. It's not simply because I'm a graduate of Northwestern that I can do this, and Elmhurst College as well. There's no need for a degree of any kind or any affiliation in the past with the school. You're just
Take the course.
ready to
Right.
come on out, sign up. It's
Yep.
no big deal.
So what kind of students were you? Do you have photographic memories, any of you?
Not here.
Do
You know, I think that learning another language for any person would be a stimulus of the brain, because, you know, I've used my Italian is Latin-based, and many of the words are Latin-based, and so that gives me an advantage in test taking, because I break the words down all the time. I do it naturally.
Oh, really? 'Cause now I
And-
took 4 years of Latin. I must do that too.
Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. Just look at the word, and
Yeah.
it's you know, and that helps with high test scores, because if you can understand the vocabulary they're using, you know, if you dissect it, you'd be very good at test taking.
Well, I had to take it for medicine. I mean, it was
Yes.
required for us, you know,
Yes.
to go into nursing school. But the advantage was we didn't have to learn to speak it, because it was a dead language.
Well, mine also was Greek. So when I was in grade school, when I came home from American school, I picked up my books and went to my godmother's house, who was the teacher.
Okay.
So that was 4 to 5 years of grade school Greek.
that
And of
helps.
course, that helped with high school. My
Yes.
goodness, I mean, I recognized all the words in the English,
Exactly.
so it made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Latin. I took 4 years in high school as well. I went to Loyola Academy, a Jesuit school, so the Jesuits were very devoted to Latin. But the point with Latin, I believe, is the fact that because it is a dead language, it's not changing
That's right.
over time.
Exactly.
The words, the descriptions, the names of things are constant throughout time now, and therefore it has an advantage in the sciences and medicine and so forth.
Right.
Can I tell you a little story about my high school Latin teacher? He was in some form of security when he was in the service. And he also was, he taught Latin, and his name was Mr. Rough. And he was rough. He would make you sweat that hour in that class if you did not do your homework, because he had a deck of cards. And the deck of cards had all the names of all the students in the class. So you had to do your homework, and then when you came to class, these people that were drawn from the card would have to recite. So you sweated every draw unless you did,
Well, I'll tell you, I
did
took
your
some
homework.
business classes at Harvard with the Committee of 200 group that I belong to, and they had all of these very interesting blackboards and everything that went up and down where they pushed buttons, but when you walked in the room, anybody, your name was in front of you, so they knew who to call on, and anybody who walked in the room late or anything, I mean, they called them on it immediately. But, you know, in chemistry, it was interesting. I had a very easy chemistry teacher for the first semester, which really was not good at all, because I had the hardest one for the second one, so it was very, very difficult to do that. But in Latin, she said I did so well that I could go to the library and do extra credit for the last year or two or whatever it was. And I don't remember much of it now, though, I have to say. But I was lucky. I think I did inherit a photographic memory from my father, but I think it's run out of film now. But, you know, it's interesting in classes, in U.S. history, I don't know much about it because my teacher was ill. So they gave us a Chinese man who didn't speak English, and he said to me, assign a president to every one of these other people, have them write a biography of the president, you mark the papers. And then he gave me a superior.
Oh, wow.
My second semester, they gave me a college economics professor to stand in. So I learned college economics instead of U.S. history.
Wow.
So I have superiors in U.S. history. Do you think I know much about U.S. history?
Lord.
No, I don't. So anyway, we're running, I can give you each 1 minute more to talk about the advantages of lifelong learning for people who are afraid to go. First of all, don't be afraid to go, because everybody in the class doesn't know what's happening either.
Exactly.
No matter how many degrees you might have, there's going to be topics that you don't know anything about.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about Aristotle, the great Greek philosopher, who said 2,500 years ago, he said, the most fortunate of men is he who can combine a level of prosperity with research or scholarship or contemplation. This man comes closest to living the life of the gods. And I think there's some truth to that. The very fact that we still read Aristotle today and recognize his contribution to knowledge suggests that, yes, indeed, there is a real point to continuing our learning experience. The things that interest us most, it's very rewarding, and again, to dig deep and work with whatever programs are available or whatever suit your needs or your temperament. We're
that's
grateful
why
to be there.
I like doing the show because I have to research things too, and we've only got 1 minute left, so you can each have 15 seconds. then I've
Okay,
gotta
what I
close.
would do is I would encourage the younger students to interact with older adults, to
Sure.
get the information from them, to begin to socialize more. Our technology today makes them where they're not socializing as
Right.
much as we did.
And it helps the older ones to feel younger
Exactly.
too.
And
keeps
then
their
the
minds
older
working.
ones, I encourage them to find a class like Peter did or does,
Yeah.
and to enroll in that. And if distance is a problem, too far of a drive, there's community organizations
And libraries. There's
and
libraries
libraries that offer so much information to seniors.
Tony, 10 seconds.
Just find what you enjoy and go in that direction, because you'll never work a day in your life if you're doing something you enjoy.
Right.
That's right. That's
I
right.
guess I should be the debate moderator
Yeah.
because I had to cut you off.
Oh.
I was going to have a microphone button here so I could just cut people off. These people don't need to be cut off, though. Thank you for joining us. I hope you'll do some lifelong learning.
Yes.
Thank you again for joining us. We'll
Yes.
see you next time.
Yeah, this was great. I totally enjoyed it.